Hey everyone, thanks for joining this tutorial. Due to the recent market volatility, we'll be looking for US equity funds that have outperformed its benchmark year to date and also displayed a consistency to outperform that benchmark during down markets. To gather this list, we're going to be using our Fund Screener, and you can get there by hovering over Tools and clicking on Fund Screener. As mentioned, we're going to be looking at US equity funds in this example, and we can gather that list by clicking on Modify Fund Universe, clicking on Broad Asset Class, and selecting US equity, and then clicking Submit. From there, we were looking at specific funds who have outperformed a benchmark, and in this case, we're going to be focusing in on funds that are benchmarked against the S&P 500 Total Return Index. So to get that, we're going to click on Modify Fund Universe once again, click on Benchmark Index, search S&P, select the S&P 500 Total Return Index, and click Submit. From here, we mentioned that we wanted to identify some funds that have outperformed its benchmark, in this case, the S&P 500 Total Return Index year to date. And to do that, we'll be clicking on Add a Metric Filter, searching for year-to-date total return, selecting that, changing the inequality dropdown to greater than, and typing in 0.71% here, or negative 0.71%, as that's the level that the S&P 500 Total Return Index is at currently, and then click Submit. After doing that, we're down to about 700 funds. And from there, we mentioned that we wanted to also identify some funds that have outperformed the benchmark during down markets. To identify those funds, we're going to be using the metric downside ratio or downside capture ratio. And we're going to be looking at a 1-year time frame to really capture what these funds have been doing in the current market conditions, and then using the 5-year figure of that metric to get that consistency over time of having outperformed that benchmark in down markets. So to do so, again, click on Add a Metric Filter, type downside 1, and then click on 1-year downside. And we're going to want this to be less than 100. For those of you who are not familiar with downside capture ratio, a value of less than 100 when using downside is actually going to signify outperformance in down markets. After clicking Submit, we're left with about 600 or so funds, and now we're going to add that 5-year period for downside. Again, just setting that less than 100 to signify that outperformance over that time period. And just like that, we're down to about 200 funds. To really cap the screen off though, we'll apply a simple scoring model to identify the top funds within this list. To do so, click on Scoring Models, title the score that you're about to create. In this case, I'll do Down Market Score. And then I'm going to add the 3 components that we screened on. So year-to-date total return, 1-year downside, and 5-year downside. Now, going through these, I'm just going to equally weight these. So to do that really quickly, I'll just uncheck these fixed check marks. And going through the financial metrics, I'll definitely want a higher year-to-date total return. However, I'll want a lower downside for each time period. Once we have this score, I'll go ahead and quickly save it. So if I ever want to go back to this score and use it, I can. And then we'll go ahead and click Add Score Column. From there, we'll sort by that column. And just like that, we've ranked the remaining 216 funds based off those 3 different metrics. And from here, we can click into any of these symbols to perform further research on any of these mutual funds. That's going to wrap up this screener tutorial. If you have any questions or any concerns, Don't hesitate to reach out to your dedicated support representative by hovering over support at the top of the page and clicking on Contact Us.